Pregnancy, postpartum, and motherhood are some of the most transformative experiences that you can go through as a woman. I have had two babies now and have had two pregnancies, two postpartums. I am currently 6 months postpartum with my second. And it's not gonna lie, it's rough at times, it's rewarding, it's challenging, it stretches you, and I truly believe that one of your superpowers as a woman is learning how to nourish yourself because a well-nourished woman has more energy, she has more patience, her nervous system is more stabilized, she's not as irritable, she is going to have more understanding with her spouse, with her children. And I find myself constantly going back to just the foundations of how to take care of myself and how that has really impacted who I am as a mother and as just a human in general, as an individual who is in this world who honestly can get super overwhelmed with things just like anybody else, whether it's what's on the news or an election season or just like everyday mom stuff, taking care of both kids and also finding time for myself. It's a lot. And I'm so blessed and feel so privileged to be able to experience this. But I also will say that if I didn't have a foundation of knowing how to take care of myself, before becoming a mom, I think it would have been so much harder. I think that this has been something that has helped me so much in being able to have more capacity. And that to me is like just so worth sharing. The truth is, I think that so many moms, and I get it. Like, if you're listening to this show, I understand that I probably have maybe less things on my plate than you do, even. Maybe you have a 9 to 5 job that you have to get up and commute to. Maybe you're taking the kids and rushing them to school. There's like a lot of things going on in your mornings, during your days. Maybe you're not home as much as I am. I'm home a lot. And so I want you to take this with a grain of salt and take whatever you need from this episode to give you permission to give back to yourself, even if it's on the weekend, going to a Pilates class that you've been wanting to try, or going on a walk with the kids, or just like having little things that you can input into your day, into your week. I truly think it makes a huge difference. And the thing is that I want to say is that I'm not just talking about food. I'm not just talking about what you eat or the workout that you do. I also believe that a huge part of this is learning how to nourish your nervous system. And that may be like, you're like, what are you talking about? And when I say that, I mean having some things in your arsenal in your back pocket that help you feel grounded. I was feeling super ungrounded this week. I was feeling very just kind of all over the place and I was having a hard time sleeping. And I just asked myself, like, what have I been doing or what have I not been doing that is contributing to me feeling this way, having trouble sleeping, falling asleep at night, waking up in the middle of the night with so much on my mind. And I noticed that one thing I was doing was I was on my phone a lot. I was on my phone a lot before bed. And I was also trying to cram a couple things in right before bed, which, that's just life sometimes. You can't control everything all the time. Sometimes you have to have compromise. But I was really able to point back to why was I feeling that way, and it helped me really kind of get grounded and centered again. So when we hear the word nourishment, I think with women we typically think about food or what we're eating, but this can come from your daily habits. This can come from the community that you are in. This can be anything from how you have boundaries around your phone to, what are your weekends like? Do you take time to be with people that lift you up and make you feel good? Or, do you spend more time rotting on your phone than you do like getting outside and going for a walk? It's winter here in Nashville right now, and I've made it an effort, even though we had frigid temperatures. At the time of this recording, I've been like every day we go outside, we get on a walk because we all feel better when we do it. So I just want to share some of these things that have helped me during my postpartum season, during pregnancy as well, things that have just become how I live my life. And also I'm going to share a couple things that are like simple tips as a mom that are practical. So if that sounds good to you, let's dive in. Welcome to the Trust Issues Podcast, the show where we question everything society tells us about how to live, work, eat, and be. I'm Erica Auckland, a mom, entrepreneur, and advocate for living life on your own terms. Here we challenge the status quo, from the food we feed our families to the way that we build wealth and well-being. You'll hear unfiltered conversations with everyone from farmers, financial experts, and everyday people who are doing life differently, all with one goal: to help you live healthier, freer, and more abundant. If you've ever felt like there's more to life than following the crowd, you're in the right place. Let's get into it. Before we get started, I just want to plug one of my most favorite brands, and that's Masa chips. Okay, so here's why I'm obsessed with Masa. So, we've all heard the conversation around seed oils. Maybe that's new to you, but toxic seed oils are incredibly harmful for our health. They can cause inflammation, they can cause digestive issues, skin issues. There are many studies that are now finding that chronic illness is being linked to ingredients like toxic seed oils in our food. Now, it's really hard to find products that don't have seed oils. If you go to the grocery store, you're going to find chips, crackers, cereals, packaged stuff, anything that you look at the ingredient label, which ingredients matter. Please look at your ingredient labels. You're probably going to see things like sunflower oil, rapeseed oil could be in your oat milk. There's so many ingredients that are hiding that you may not be aware of that you're consuming. So Masa is doing it right because they are a product that uses zero seed oils. In fact, they use grass-fed beef tallow with their chips. I grew up with my parents having Mexican restaurants. I love a good crispy tortilla chip with some guacamole, with some salsa. My toddler loves guacamole too. It's like in his blood. But finding something that is made without seed oils is really, really hard. It's almost impossible. It doesn't even exist in the regular grocery stores. Now, a lot of brands are also using avocado oil, but there's a lot coming out around how these avocado oils are not actually pure and they're cut with other seed oils. It's like, seriously, we cannot win. So I'm very mindful of what I serve to my family and what I eat myself. And so Masa has a couple different flavors. If you're watching on video right now, I am holding up the Cobanero flavor, which is my favorite. It's like so crunchy, crispy, and it has a slight heat to it because it's Cobanero. It has chili, chipotle, a little bit of ancho, and habanero as well. But again, just made with beef tallow. They have another original flavor that's just a few ingredients. The corn, which is 100% organic corn, crazy, because you also don't find that, as well as grass-fed beef tallow and sea salt. Okay. They're using Redmond Real sea salt also. Okay. I'm going to leave my link in the show notes. You can go to masachips.com/Erica. Use my code Erica for a discount. Get the 4-pack. They also have a churro flavor if you want like a little sweet treat. That will be really good with some vanilla ice cream. Have you ever had a fried ice cream before? Just saying. Such a good sweet treat. Try Masa chips out. You're going to love them and stop eating toxic seed oils. Okay, the question I get all the time is how do I nourish myself as a mom, as a business owner, someone who is busy? What foods do I choose? What do I eat? What's a day in the life of what I'm eating or serving my family? And it's one of my favorite questions to answer because it's very simple for me. When it comes to how I nourish myself, the first thing I do look at is the actual food that I'm eating, the nutrition that I'm getting through my food. I find that that's the simplest way to approach your own wellness. If you're starting in one area, just start with what you're putting on your plate and everything else can follow. I have found that when you are really trying to live a low tox lifestyle or a holistic lifestyle, if you start with food, you're going to start to feel better. So making these other decisions like maybe having lower toxic products in your home for cleaning products or your beauty products, it's really easy to start to see why that is beneficial, but you have to start with what's on your plate. So for me, I start with what is on my plate, and that is really prioritizing protein. You've probably seen a lot of people talk about this on social media, and there's a reason. Protein is so important for muscle growth, stimulating muscle growth. It's found that we need to be eating about 30 grams of protein per meal each day, and also 0.8 to 1 gram of protein per lean body weight. So say you're 140 pounds, but maybe lean muscle, you're 125. If you're eating 125 grams of protein a day, you're doing pretty dang good and you're doing better than most people are. So that's what I prioritize. And it's really important to have your protein with every single meal to balance your blood sugar, which is also very important for all chronic health issue prevention, as well as skin health. I mean, if you're trying to get pregnant, a little unknown thing is just learning how to balance your blood sugar. So when I'm really wanting to make sure that I'm going to have a healthy pregnancy, I'm going to make sure that I'm eating really well, balancing my blood sugar with a carb, a fat, and a protein at each meal is super important. I don't just eat protein by itself, which is so many people do. And they think, well, I had my protein. Well, that can also lower your blood sugar. So we want to make sure that we're balancing blood sugar by having some fat and carb as well. So for me, when I'm thinking about like what are some of the core meals that I'm going to eat on a daily basis, it's obviously going to be breakfast, lunch, and dinner, maybe a snack or two, bedtime snack within the day, depending on how hungry I am and depending on how many macros I got during the day. So I personally do track my macros on occasion, probably once or twice a week, just to gauge where I'm at and how much food I'm eating. This I find helps me not only just be a little accountable to myself, but also just ensure that I'm eating enough, which for me is very easy to undereat because mom life, like, serving everybody else before me, I can get to the end of the day and be like, wow, I really haven't eaten that much. So I really try to make sure that I'm getting 30 to 50 grams of protein in my breakfast at least. And then the rest of the protein that I aim to get during the day, which is 150 grams of protein per day is my personal goal. So you're going to want to track your own macros that serve you. You can easily look up macro calculators online or even work with a health coach or a nutritionist, someone who can help you figure out what you need for your own personal goals. For me, I am breastfeeding, so I'm making sure that I'm eating enough to keep my supply up, but I'm also making sure that I'm not overeating fat or overeating things that are going to make me keep body fat on, which I am trying to shed right now. So just mindful, I'm very mindful of those things. And, when when I'm pregnant or if I'm prepping to be pregnant, like I'm really eating a lot of the same, honestly. And that's a big question I get is like, what did you eat during pregnancy? I eat pretty much the same things during pregnancy. Postpartum is more focused on warming foods, I will say, less smoothies, more stews, soups, stuff that is going to promote healing. But when I'm not pregnant, when I'm trying to lean down, or when I am pregnant, I'm focused on protein, really good animal-based protein sources, and then good carbs. Typically, my carbs that I reach for are going to be things like fruit. Fruit has fiber and it's also going to be more easily digestible. Some of the complex carbs are great as well. But for me, I notice that if I'm eating too many of those, I will put on more fat or hold on to more body fat. So everybody's body is different. I try to reach for more fruits. Those are my favorite sources of carbs, as well as things like honey and maple syrup. I really enjoy those myself. But I'll say that I also incorporate things like white rice that is prepared properly, as well as potatoes and, I'll do some starchy root vegetables, stuff like that. So I don't really we hardly eat pasta, but like I want to eat pasta, I'm going to eat pasta. I'm not going to apologize for it, but I really am always trying to be mindful about how am I nourishing myself. And the other thing too is so many people are like, I want to go keto or carb free. And as a woman, you need carbohydrates. You need them to fuel your body. Your body's preferred source of energy is carbohydrates. So that is what I am always aware of, is making sure I'm having a balanced meal in that way. So typically each meal I'll have, 30 to 50 grams of protein, 30 grams of carbs at least, something like that, maybe even some more depending. And then, fat might be like 12 grams or something like that. So again, this is something that is tailored to me. I am just sharing so that you can kind of get an idea of what you need. But when it comes to the next part, obviously protein is really important, as I mentioned. The next thing is trace minerals. So making sure I'm getting mineral rich foods. Something that I'll do is once a week or twice a week, we'll do some shellfish. So we'll do some like seafood, some scallops. Getting trace minerals from your food is really, really great. Anti-inflammatory, super supportive of your energy, of your whole body, as well as making sure I'm getting trace minerals from the liquids I'm drinking. So one of my all-time favorite things to drink is coconut water. I always have a giant thing of coconut water in my fridge. I'm constantly basically drinking a whole glass of coconut water, which is very high in potassium. And then I'll do like a splash of pineapple juice or orange juice, maybe like a third a cup, sometimes up to that much. And then what I'll do is I will have some salt. So will do a big fat pinch of salt. So good. So that is some of my ways that I ensure I get enough trace minerals. I also will drink mineral rich teas. So I will brew some like nettle tea or some other mineral teas that I think are just really delicious. And I'll do like hibiscus. Those are just like a little like back pocket tips that you don't have to do, but are just like additional things. The other thing is like for me as a mom, I'm always making sure that I eat breakfast. It's so easy to just like come downstairs because I personally do not wake up earlier than my kids. I'm not doing that. That doesn't work for me. I need sleep. I sleep in as much as I can. And then once everyone's up, we're up. But when I get downstairs, it's like, my toddler wants to play with toys or the baby needs to be breastfed or whatever, right? So it's like there's a lot of things going on, but I really try to prioritize breakfast. Like I'm not doing anything until I eat breakfast. So I come down, I take my minerals. I take this product called Mitigate Stress. It's their master mineral drink. I take it on an empty stomach, and it's the most bioavailable form of magnesium. It's magnesium bicarbonate, and it also has potassium and sodium. So I take this drink and then on an empty stomach, and then I'm starting to make my breakfast. So my breakfast is like so boring. It's almost the same thing every single day. It's some type of eggs, fruit, and then I do a big mug of either matcha with protein or a latte with protein. And it's always with raw milk because if you know, you know. So I'm like literally hyper fixated on my matcha, my morning matcha, or my morning espresso like latte. It's so good, and it's just what I look forward to. But, I'm like definitely not a non-caffeine drinker. And we always eat dinner as a family, so I'm starting to prep dinner around like 3 o'clock, 3:30. I know that sounds excessive, but usually I'm putting something in the crock pot that's really just like maybe a roast or short ribs or something like that everybody can eat as like a one pot meal or something simple. But I always try to prepare ahead of time because I know that if we get too late in the day, the toddler's hangry, I'm hangry, husband's hangry, we're melting down. It's not good for anyone. So it's called a dream cooker. It's the Our Place dream cooker, which I can link in the show notes too. And this is like my go-to. I literally swear I use this like 5 times a week because I'm just always wanting to make simple meals that are healthy and delicious, that are easy for me to throw all in one pot. So I really try to do that. And then in terms of lunches, like I'm always thinking about how can I just make lunch easy? I get like pre-sliced steak it's grass-fed steak from Costco. It's so stinking good. Some sliced cheese, some fruit, some honey, some bee pollen sprinkled, maybe some sardines. Like you're probably noticing a trend. Like I just eat a lot of animal-based foods, a lot of raw dairy, protein, a lot of fruit. I eat fruit all day long. And then at nighttime, I almost always have the same snack. It's either a yogurt bowl or a cottage cheese bowl. And that is going to be either cottage cheese with frozen fruit and drizzled honey, or it's Greek yogurt with frozen fruit and drizzled honey. And it's just literally the same thing almost every single night. Sometimes I'll do ice cream at night if I like had a day. And I'm like, I need a sweet treat. But for the most part, I'm like still focusing on making sure I get enough adequate protein, right? And I am breastfeeding, so I'm hungry, man. Like at the middle of the night, I'm like, sometimes I wake up and I'm hungry. So I really try to keep it lean and keep it healthy and delicious. And another thing I do as a mom that really honestly keeps us all sane, and this is just like such a life hack in itself, is walking. Walking is such a life hack. I can't remember the study that I read on this, and maybe I should have pulled it up ahead of time before recording, but there was a study I had read around just the longevity of that someone will have if they are frequent walkers, how much longer they will live, how much better their life quality is in terms of chronic illness, blood sugar balancing, weight. This is just such an easy thing to do on almost an every single day basis. I'm always trying to get 10,000 steps per day. I actually got a step tracker to kind of see where I was at. Again, like I just like to track my macros every once in a while to see where I'm at. I like to track my steps sometimes to see where I'm at. I like to track my steps, my macros, just because this is just information. For me, it's information to know, where am I at? Am I on the right path? Am I totally off? Because sometimes in our minds, we could be totally off and think, yeah, like I'm eating enough, and come to find out you're absolutely not. Or you are really, really overeating on something specific. For example, a lot of people that I talk to who start on a pro-metabolic journey will overeat on fat and undereat carbs, undereat protein, or they'll just be like unknowingly eating so many more macros and then they're frustrated why they can't lose weight or why they're gaining weight. So sometimes this information just super helpful. So back to my step tracker. I have a step tracker that I bought. I can also link that for you. It is a no EMF, has no Bluetooth step tracker that just I can check in with every once in a while to be like, okay, it's winter, or so we haven't walked as much, or it was a rainy day. Did I get enough steps? And this just helps me see where I'm at, and it keeps me accountable. And I will say that if us in our household, if I'm irritated or my husband's irritated or we're all just like trying to make it to dinner time, sometimes I'll be like, we all just need to get out of the house and go on a walk. And we did this yesterday. We kind of had a reset day yesterday because we were all a little stressed. We had like 2 days back to back that were just kind of like, we had so many just irritating things happen and just daily life stuff. And yesterday we decided we need a reset day. We're going to go to the park. And just that walk to the park, walk at the park was so lovely and so nourishing to my soul. Like just getting out. That's the thing, is we are not designed to be inside all the time. We are not designed to be sitting all the time. We are not designed to be immobile. That's the thing, is so many people are waking up, and I know there's things that you can't control depending on where you work and your life situation, but there are things you can do, like taking your lunch on a walk. Go walk and lunch on the go. Or when you have a phone call, instead of taking a phone call and sitting for that phone call, can you go and take a walk? Those types of things I think are so underrated, because that extra movement, not only does it help you increase your daily energy expenditure, which helps you burn more calories, which helps you feel leaner and stronger and healthier, but that walk is just so imperative to your health. Movement is so medicinal. I asked ChatGPT for you because I wanted to make sure that you heard this. Walking, this is what ChatGPT said. I said, give me some of your top studies around walking and the benefits of walking. It says walking is a simple yet powerful activity. Here are some of the key benefits. Number 1, cardiovascular health. Regular walking enhances cardiovascular fitness, helping to prevent and manage conditions such as heart disease, high blood pressure, and stroke. Engaging in brisk walking for at least 150 minutes a week can lead to significant improvements for your heart health. So good. Weight management. Incorporating walking into your daily routine aids in maintaining a healthy weight and reduces body fat. Even standing more frequently throughout the day can actually contribute to weight loss over time. And that's the thing, again, is about sitting. Sitting is truly so not good for us because we were not designed to do that. Our ancestors, they were on the move constantly. They were walking from point A to point B. They didn't have vehicles, right? So we have, while our world and society has progressed, us as physical humans, we still need that type of movement. And so think about how you can take the stairs instead of the elevator. Think about how you can do some of these little simple things, park a little farther away so that you can get more steps in every single day. Don't be obsessive about it, but it really matters. Another thing that I love too is actually immune system boost. So regular physical activity such as walking can strengthen the immune system, making you less susceptible to illness. A study found that those who walked at least 20 minutes a day, 5 days a week, had 43% fewer sick days compared to those who exercise once a week or less. Listen to this, people, okay? A study found that people who are walking 20 minutes a day, 5 days a week, they were 43% less likely to have sick days compared to the people who were just working out once a week or maybe not even. 43%. This winter has been like this season of illness. I've seen so many people fall with the flu, pneumonia, so many crazy illnesses. I'm so grateful that we have been able to avoid that. But if you are wanting to boost yours and your family's well-being, just start walking. And this is going to contribute to you having healthier pregnancies. It's going to contribute to you having better postpartums. I promise you, walking is so underrated. Okay. Do I get off my soapbox now about walking? Okay, let's move on. So the next thing I want to talk about is really just checking in with yourself on an emotional level as a mom. And this is hard. And I will say that in my personal life right now, there's not a lot of time for me to be checking in with myself emotionally. There's not a lot of time for me just as it is, right? And that's okay. That's motherhood. And motherhood is a sacrifice. And I think more mothers would be happier if they understood how much sacrifice is required of them to raise children. in these early rearing years. And of course, we're going to be involved in our children's life for the rest of our lives. But the truth is that as they get older, they don't need you as much. And so, or they need you in different ways, maybe not as physical, right? You carrying the baby around or breastfeeding the baby. But as you get older and as they get older, that relationship dynamic changes, right? And so you may have time to go to a spa day. You may have time to go and have lunch with girlfriends. Whereas, when the kids are younger, that may not be as feasible, right? And so for me, I'm always thinking about how can I just get grounded. And I will say that one thing that has really, really impacted my emotional health has been social media. Social media, the digital space can be super toxic if you're not mindful of how much you consume, especially in this last several months where, it was election season. There's been so many, I feel like, tragedies just happening back to back to back. I truly don't believe that we as humans are meant to consume all of that information all the time. I think it's very detrimental to our emotional health to do so. And so I think that having boundaries around how much you're consuming with social, with whatever irritates your soul, maybe you just cut that out a little bit or you're minimize that as much as you can. I will say that screens honestly can make me feel super stressed out. And I will say this because this is not necessarily something that really has to do with my own emotional health, but the way that your children behave and the way that your children are obviously as a mother affects you a lot. So when there's more outbursts or more tantrums or more things like that, it just makes for a more tumultuous household. And I am so big on trying to keep a peaceful home. And obviously I have boys, like I have a family. It's not always going to be peaceful. There's stuff that happens, but I really try my darndest to keep a peaceful home. And one thing I started to notice in our home was that my toddler was starting to act out because of the screens that he was watching. Now, we have always been pretty minimal in our screens in our home. We're not like a big TV family. We don't turn the TV on at all during the day. It's never turned on. The TV is only really on at night when we're kind of winding down for the day. But my son was watching maybe about 20 minutes to 30 minutes a day of Curious George on like whatever, Paramount or something. And I started to notice some things about him that it was really starting to weigh on me. And I was starting to feel just like so irritated, honestly, with his behavior because he was just getting almost having these outbursts. And I was seeing that he was having a hard time being frustrated. Every time he would get frustrated with something, playing or building something, he would like turn to me and be like, oh, I want to watch George. And it became this like crutch almost for him that I just didn't enjoy. I was like, this is not the kind of kid I want to raise. A kid who can not stand being frustrated and has to ask for a show every single day. Like that's just not, I'm not down with that. So I just did not enjoy that. And I was starting to think like, this is not me raising a resilient kid if he can't handle being frustrated. And if every time he's feeling frustrated, he's asking for a television show character to essentially be an emotional crutch for him. So we decided to run an experiment. On January 1st, we said we're done with screens, no more TV, and we started to notice such a huge change in him. Maybe I'll do an entire episode about this later and what we do to avoid screens, but he's become literally a different kid. Like and again, he was only watching about 20 minutes a day, which blew my mind. And I know that the American Pediatrics Association, which I don't agree with everything that they say, but they had said something around they discourage screens before 3. And my son just turned 3. And I feel like it was just such an eye opener for me of how sensitive these little children are and how overstimulated they can be. And, I'm overstimulated. He's overstimulated. I just started to see things that I didn't like and I changed it. And I think that just to empower you as a mother, as someone who, maybe wants to become a mother one day, that you can change things for your family, for yourself. And maybe it's going to be hard for a couple weeks, but it's worth it. And so that was something that was really emotionally like getting to all of us in our home. And we nipped that in the bud. And it has been such a game changer. There's a couple things too that I have found that have really helped me, like modalities that have helped me with my own emotional health. And of course, there's the boundaries around social media and stuff like that. But I think the other thing for me has been doing some breath work and some journaling, like me just brain dumping at the end of the day and writing out my to-do list, having a minute to just process my day. So helpful. Literally takes 5-10 minutes, but it helps me greatly, as well as acupuncture. Acupuncture was something that I did a lot during pregnancy. I need to get back into it postpartum because it's just incredibly helpful. But I found that during pregnancy, when the hormones were all over the place and, you're growing and things are changing so quickly, when I was feeling that way, I was going to acupuncture about every single week for a little bit. And then I stopped for a little bit and then I started going back again. But it just helped me feel so even keeled and chill. Acupuncture is, I'm telling you, it's very underrated. And I just found that it was really great for my stress management. Another thing that really helped me as well is my workouts. And I'm going to just go back to walking is great. But for me, when I am doing hard things in the gym, that helps me so much. So I am so grateful to say that I was able to work out my entire pregnancy up until really I think the week right before I gave birth. I was working out right until before I gave birth. I had my baby on a Sunday and I had worked out that Friday. So I think he was born Monday. It was midnight. But that just helps me so much when I am doing hard things, because there's something about when you do hard things in the gym, the way that it transfers over into everyday life is so, it's just, for me, I truly, it is like medicine. When I had that bit of time when I wasn't working out during my postpartum, first 6 weeks, it really started to rock me mentally. And of course I was walking and that was great, but it is something that I constantly just say how grateful I am for it because of how it impacts me mentally. Yes, of course, I want to work out because of the physical aspect. Yes, of course, I'm trying to lose fat and be a ripped mom and a strong mom and, I want to feel good this spring, summer in a bathing suit. Yes, for sure, I have that aspect as well. But my mental health is so benefited from doing hard things in the gym. So I will say that. And then another thing too is I think just on a spiritual and emotional level, my life has changed so much in the last 3 years. I look back and I see how different my friend group has evolved and changed. Now it's very much surrounded by some amazing moms, and all of us are kind of in this season of rearing young children and having babies, and that's really helpful and really encouraging. But one thing we did this last year actually that really has been a game changer for us is we joined a church. And my husband and I, we grew up in church our whole life. We were very much, brought up in the Christian church, and it was a part of, we went to a small Christian academy for high school. I went to a Christian university. Church has been a huge aspect in our life, and I'm so grateful that I had that upbringing. But over the years, we kind of fell away a little bit, and I think, God really called us back for the aspect of, if we're going to be healthy parents, if we're going to be healthy, have healthy kids. When I say healthy, health is always, it's your mental health, it's your physical health, it's your spiritual health. It's all of that. And I just felt like God called us back to that this past year. He said, I felt like he'd really said, if you want to have a truly thriving, healthy family, you got to get back to church. And we just opened our hearts to it. And we found a church that we felt really just so excited about being involved and, just meeting other moms there. It's been really, really cool. So I'm very grateful for that. And I can say that, when I've posted some things on social media that have been around postpartum help, postpartum healing, friends that have been there during postpartum. One of the comments that I've received many, many times from so many people that has honestly made me truly sad is how many people feel completely alone during their postpartum season. And if that was you, I am so sorry that that was your experience. You do not deserve that. You deserve to have a village. You deserve to have people around you during pregnancy, during postpartum, and as you're raising children. As a mother, we need community, and we are not meant to do things alone. We are meant to do things in a village. And maybe that's your chosen village because it's friends and people that you've met in the area that you live, or it's your family because they're close and you're very physically close and close relationally. But I get this comment a lot from people who are like, well, I didn't have anyone, or I was completely alone. And I just want to encourage you that if that's you, go find a church. Literally, I'm gonna get preachy. Like, go find a church, go find community of people who can lift you up, who can pray for you, who can be there with you when things are really hard, when things are really great. They can celebrate with you, they can pray over you. You need that in your life. You cannot and are not designed to do things alone. And the devil works in loneliness and in silence and in isolation. So if you are someone who wants to raise really awesome humans and you want to feel your very best, get involved in a church community. I honestly think it's the easiest way to go find people who are going to love you. And maybe you have church hurt and there's been a time in your life that you grew up in a church and you went to church and you're rolling your eyes right now like, Erica, like, no, thank you. Just pray about it because I've been there. I've been there. I've been the person who's rolled my eyes and eaten my words. So I just encourage you, or maybe this convicts you a little bit, to go and find a community. Like, people aren't going to just come rushing to your doorstep and ask you to help. If you want a friend, you have to be a friend. So maybe that's what you need to do. All right, mamas, I hope this episode was helpful for you. I hope it gave you some practical insight on how you can approach postpartum, pregnancy, motherhood, all the in between. Maybe you're a mom already and you're going to do it again and have another, or maybe you are not even a parent yet, but you want to become a mom and you're just thinking about how's this all going to look. And maybe you're just like, you want to show up as your best version of yourself. I just want to encourage you, you can do it. You deserve to feel your best. You deserve to have an amazing experience. It's not all sunshine and rainbows. It's hard some days. There's a lot of days that are really challenging and stretching. Motherhood in itself is a sacrifice, but it'll be one of the most worthy sacrifices that you've given yourself unto. And I just am cheering you on. I'm cheering you on from afar or from close up, wherever you're at in the world. Thanks for listening to this episode of the podcast. If you loved it, could you do me a favor? Could you leave a review? If you're watching on YouTube, can you also leave a comment, subscribe to the channel? My goal this year is to get these messages out to as many people as I can. Who can I help? Who can I share this with? Someone who is going to be impacted, kind of really like sharing the information I wish I had when I was becoming a mom for the first time, or when I was pregnant and I had no idea what to expect. So go ahead and leave a 5-star review if you're on Apple Podcasts. If you are on YouTube, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.